Hi, for anyone new to the channel, I'm Linda.
And I'm Troy. If you've followed our channel for any length of time, you know the one thing we love to do is make mods to our camper. Today's mod, however, comes with quite a bit of risk.
That's right. We now have a 2.5-inch hole in our floor.
What could go wrong?
If you're wondering why, stick around. So if you watched our mod video from a few weeks ago, link up here, you know that we were looking to do a new dining table option using a cleat system. And when we put it all together, it did work, but we found that it was just a little bit too bulky for our needs, and we were looking for something a bit more streamlined. Plus, we really like the kickboard that's under the sofa because it does match. We didn't want to replace it with the wood panel that we were using.
Yeah, a while back we were at an RV show in Raleigh, and we saw another RV manufacturer that had utilized a different type of setup, and it got us thinking. It got us thinking so much we decided to do it, even though it was a little risky.
Yes. So, what did we do?
So we started with this table that's stored behind the couch. But it is bulky, it's difficult to get in and out, and it takes up way too much room for a 20-foot camper. Plus, if one of us has to get up, we both do.
So this is the modification that we made. Now we're going to walk you through it here in just a minute, but real quickly, what we did was take a 2.5-inch hole saw and drill a hole into the floor so we could screw down the recessed base. Now when we want to use it, we can just go ahead, pop in the table leg, put the tabletop on that has the other base already screwed onto it. It's assembled and ready for use.
It does three things very well. Obviously, it's a dining table. It's an easy to use dining table at that. We can use it as a desk when we're on the road doing business. And also, we can use it as an impromptu card table. It's very flexible, it's versatile, and it does everything we wanted it to do.
So the first thing we had to do was locate the parts. We found those online, and that was the leg and both the part that screws into the top and the base. And we had originally bought those to use with the cleat system, so we were able to easily use it here.
Next, step 2. We wanted to determine what might be underneath our floor and above the underbelly paper in the trailer. So we went online on YouTube, and many people have gone and done a factory tour of the Rockwood facility. And there we were able to watch these trailers being built, and we determined that there's aluminum tubing running parallel streams from the front of the trailer to the back. And we knew roughly the orientation of them. And of course, going under the trailer, we could feel them. So that verified our suspicions about where we might find the steel.
So this is the part of the video where it starts getting good. Now, before we can cut that hole, we have to measure again, and measure one more time. It only took us about 5 minutes to cut that hole, but it took us half a day in preparing to cut that hole. Now, there's one thing we want to say before we go any further.
All right, guys, quick note. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Wines, Pines, and Canines makes no representations as far as the following process. You're on your own, you take your own measurements, and enjoy the video.
Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about how we actually decided to cut the hole and where. The first thing we did is we measured from the inside wall under the slide, and we just kind of measured out where we would be happy with the bar falling between X and X measurement. Then we could take that measurement and go under the camper. But there's one more thing we had to think of.
If you go to do this project, it's important to note that when you're inside the camper, you're going to measure from the inside wall. If you're under the camper, you have to measure from the outside of the camper.
So once we had the measurement from the inside, plus we were factoring in the thickness of the wall, we ran a measuring tape under the camper to determine, where that measurement would fall on the underside, so we could feel around and see where the aluminum framing was, or if there was anything else in there that we needed to be aware of. Now, we did know that we wanted it pretty much in the center of the sofa, and that lines up pretty much with the center of the window, so we did make a note of that too, to make sure there was nothing running side to side where we were looking to go ahead and cut the hole in. So once we had the measurement on the underside, we came back inside to that blue tape, and this time we used the drill and the drill bit to go about an inch or so past where we thought that aluminum framing was, and we made a series of little small holes just to make sure that we weren't going to hit that framing when we used the hole saw. So once we were all clear, it was time to move on to the next step.
Next step was to go ahead and cut the hole in the floor. So I grabbed a 2.5-inch hole saw on my drill, spun down through the floor pretty quickly actually. As it turns out, we have 5/8-inch OSB. Very common product, and if you look closely in this little wooden puck that I retrieved out of the hole saw, you can see all my pilot holes. Once you pull the hole saw back out, you're going to see a little bit of insulation that's trapped between the belly paper and the subfloor. And in our case, we were very close to that aluminum frame we were trying to miss. About 1/4 inch. But that's what we kind of suspected, so we feel good about that. Next step, we had to make sure that we could get that base to sit flush. I wanted to make sure that the underside of this base set flush, and it's got these little metal pieces around the outside. I could have cut them out with a chisel, but I decided to cut the vinyl back a little further, take a medium round over bit in my router, and then ease this edge so that this base falls right in now. The last part of this process we're going to do in just a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and screw this base down finally to the OSB. I just wanted to leave it out long enough to show you for video purposes the hole and what's underneath.
Well, the hole is cut, the base is in. Now it is time for a tabletop. We could have probably gone online or down to our local, home goods store and found a, tabletop either already made or used, a large tray or maybe a cutting board. Lagoon top tables probably would work really well. But Troy and I decided to make it. So we used 1/2-inch red oak plywood and cut it down to approximate measurements that we wanted to see. We wanted it to cantilever over the couch a little bit, but we didn't want it so big that it would be wobbly on one table leg. So we used our table saw to cut it down to the length we wanted, and then Troy used some 1x2 red oak stock to kind of put an edging around it. That way if there's a plate or something on it, we don't have to worry about it falling off. And then we just glued, pin nailed, and clamped that for the night, and the next day it was ready to stain. Now, in case you're wondering, we did use a weathered oak stain, which I really like inside the camper. We're going to be doing some more things inside here with this color. But the final piece we had to do before we could assemble the whole table was to flip the new tabletop on its back and screw in the base that goes onto it. We just used short screws because this is only a 1/2-inch material, but we put a little glue in the holes as well to kind of hold them a little bit better. And then everything is ready to assemble. So this is the part of the video where we're going to try and anticipate the questions that you guys are going to ask. So, Troy, will the slide still work?
I'd have to say it would be awkward if it didn't, but let's take a look.
So, yes, it does, but that may be because of an earlier mod. Let's take a quick look at that. So this is the modification that we had done when we first bought the camper, really. This kickboard kept falling off, so we went ahead and put it on hinges so we could get under there. And when we did, we put it on some 1/4-inch plywood, and that has now had the kickboard sitting up a little bit off the floor, and that's likely why it's sliding over that table base.
So Linda, do you think you're going to stub your feet on this little mounting bracket?
Troy, that's a good question. And the answer is, I don't think so. It only sits up about 1/8 inch. Doesn't sit up any more than campers that have those, in-floor heating vents. So we've been walking around and haven't had any issues with it. However, the dog is the one thing that does worry me because he has little paws and it's a 2-inch hole. So I don't want him running around and maybe catching his foot. So we bought a cable grommet at a home improvement store, wrapped some electrical tape around it, and we just pop that in the hole when we're in the camper. But the slide will not go in and over that, so just a note. So Troy, where are you going to store the table?
I'm going to store this table where the manufacturer stored the original table. This time I'm going to do it with a lot more ease, and I'm going to have a lot more room to spare. So Linda, do you think you were worried about plumbing or electrical when we drilled this hole?
The answer is yes.
Good
you
answer.
know, we thought of that. Luckily, we could feel under that belly paper, and we didn't feel anything other than those aluminum frames, and it's not very thick under there. So, and we had kind of identified where, you know, the plumbing and water lines and electrical were all running. So, were we a little nervous? Yes, but everything worked out.
Guys, why didn't you just do a lagoon table? They're found in all kinds of campers and they're really neat looking. Primary reason for that is we would have had to build out the front of this couch so that the bar that supports the table would have cleared the couch. Then my only other solution to the problem would have been to move this couch backwards. If I had to remount this couch all the way back into the slide to get that bar farther in, I don't have any storage at all behind the couch, and that's of significant importance to us.
So you guys thought we were done, but as we were about to upload this video, we realized there was probably one more question you guys might ask us.
If one's good, two must be better.
Yes, so the reason we didn't install two and only did the one between us is we just wanted something to be able to set our plates on and things like that. So if we had to get up, we weren't having to move it out of the way. So one in between really works for us, may not work for everybody. And if you guys do something different, go ahead, email us, maybe post it to our Facebook page. We'd love to see it.
So that's it. I think we're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, if you've watched some of our prior videos, we don't like making permanent modifications to the camper. You know, we like to kind of keep things as is, but I think this one was worth it. I am very happy with it. So what would you give it, Troy?
I think I'd give it a 10.
Yeah, there we go. So if you'd like to see more of these videos upcoming, please remember to
like and subscribe.
And remember, Desi always wants you to hit that notification bell.